Hey everyone, welcome to a recap of our first ever community workshop, Battery Life in the New Year. Because we want to create an environment where people feel comfortable sharing, we chose not to record the session, but so that people can both review what we went over and also have access to the information. We've chosen to record the more informational portion of our workshop today. So real quick, a little bit about who we are. The Metrodora Foundation is an innovative, patient-founded, patient-focused nonprofit organization whose mission is to accelerate data-driven research for neuroimmune conditions. So we are patient-run and hoping to catalyze the entire research ecosystem in order to better accelerate understanding of the mechanisms behind neuroimmune conditions and then leading to therapeutics and improved outcomes for patients like us. So who are your facilitators? I'll start with myself. I'm Sarah Renberg. I'm the Foundation's Research and Education Coordinator. I'm a patient myself, currently coming to you from Ann Arbor, Michigan. Fun fact is that I know how to juggle and that I'll be starting in medical school this summer. Alexandra, take it away.
Hi, I'm Alexandra Cohen. I'm the foundation's community coordinator. I'm also a patient, and I'm coming to you from Salt Lake City, Utah. I'm from North Carolina, though. And my fun fact is that I'm addicted to the little Zevia drinks because they're just delicious. So the goals of the community workshop is first and foremost to bring the community together, both patients and caregivers, especially to discuss about all of our shared experiences in a safe environment because we all know that we can understand each other and it's a very unique experience. So being with people who actually understand what you're going through is very important. And we also want to bring to light different research opportunities that could also help us in the future from a patient and caregiver perspective.
The idea is that we want to provide access to quote unquote feel better opportunities with through actionable education pertaining to patient mental health. And so that brings us to sort of what we're here to talk about today, which is a new way to think about personal energy. So being in the chronic illness community, you may have heard about the spoon theory, but it leaves something to be desired in our opinion, because like what is half a spoon? It's just challenging to explain to someone. So the battery analogy is a creative way to explain to healthy friends and family, and also to think about in your own terms what it's like living with a chronic illness or disability. And the way it works is that so everyone is familiar with battery life. We all have computers, phones, and you probably pay attention to the battery life on those devices. And so some things, take 5% of your energy, and other things might take 25% of your energy. But another thing that I like about the battery analogy specifically is that there's also this opportunity to recharge and to think in terms of, what's going to actually work, what's going to plug you in. And then it also lets you think about, how is my battery? So, in the ideally healthy person, you have a functioning battery that knows how to hold a charge. But some of you may be feeling like, you're like an old iPhone 4 and you have to stay plugged in all the time. And so something about being able to think about, your energy and your capacity and pacing in these terms is flexible and encouraging, because, there is an opportunity to recharge, and also a way to sort of gauge throughout the day. So this was what the discussion was about during the workshop. So what do you think about that, Alexandra?
So personally for me, things that take like 5 to 10% of my battery is the low maintenance tasks like just washing my face and brushing my teeth, like those simple things. And also rewatching like a TV show because I don't have to think about something new. Things that take like 10 to 20% is like doing my laundry, like those type of chores. Um, Anything physical takes definitely above 10% of my battery, and also learning new things as well. And even just my daily medical maintenance, because I have to make sure that I'm doing everything proper to make sure that I don't mess up anything with my health conditions. And things that take like 50% or more of my battery is socializing, honestly, like any sort of outing, even if it's at my home a lot of the time, it completely drains me. And also things like driving that too much. So, yeah.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. And during the workshop, we had a little bit of a debate about showering. Some people, it's across the spectrum and how much energy that takes. We also talked about transportation. We talked about also the drain on having to articulate, how you're feeling in your condition to other people, and some of the ways that you can, modulate that effect on you, as well as how to prioritize where you're actually spending that energy. So one helpful thing to sort of reframe was thinking about sort of accepting assistance in certain instances, like maybe getting a wheelchair ride through the airport so that when you reach your destination, you're, at max capacity to enjoy the event. And so really thinking about, where do you want to be spending your energy? But also now we're going to move on to thinking about, what helps you recharge. So for me, like I think sunlight is huge. And while there's biological, physiological reasons for that, I just know that here in Michigan, it's, we get sunny days quite rarely in winter. And so it's just like the energy that I get, even if it's just, stepping outside, having the sun stream through the windows, like I feel more awake and alive and in a really refreshing way. Some other things that might help me recharge. Are, sort of thoughtful movement, which I know is a hot take in this population. And then, you know, having a meaningful conversation with a close friend or partner. How about you, Alexandra?
So for me, I love doing crafts that aren't taking up a lot of energy, like the diamond paint gem stuff, like that is just a way to like tap into just like a creative side of my mind that is just you can kind of zone out and do it. But then also listening to like comfort music is very big for me because there is a lot of research on how music can influence your mood. And so listening to songs that like are just like meaningful and like touching my heart helps a lot with that. And then, of course, the classic sleeping. Can never turn that one down.
Yeah, good sleep is essential. And yeah, that those are great ideas. The music one is really useful too to be able to impact your mood positively. Um, and so the idea being that just take some time to think, like what can help you recharge? Is it, you know, watching Netflix? Maybe it's not. Maybe it's doing something with your hands. Maybe it's talking to a loved one. Maybe it's, yeah, just spending that quality time in bed. And so again, like having a cognizance of the way that you're interacting and going through the world with your chronic health condition and managing, your own personal energy is really useful to reflect upon. So the next thing we sort of chatted about was what are the barriers to recharging? What gets in the way? Like, because some of the things you have to do, like you have to go to the doctor, or you might have to study in school, or have to do some things. Maybe you're a parent and like you have to help out with the kids and stuff like that, and some strategies for overcoming them. So, Alexandra, do you have any thoughts on this?
So when it comes to overcoming all of these different types of barriers, it's when it comes to the social situations, a big thing for me is learning how to set boundaries. And that is a topic that is very much easier said than done. But I think it's really essential to make sure that sometimes you just have to avoid the situation as a whole because it's not fair to yourself mentally or physically to completely drain your battery and cause harm to yourself, honestly. But also, a big strategy is making sure that you are finding the people who do understand because they will be a part of recharging your battery rather than draining it.
Yeah, that's a great point. In the workshop discussion, some of the barriers we talked about was actually our own perception of our abilities. So whether or not you think that you can do more than you may actually be able to, or some of the pressures you may feel from society, a parent, or even just guilt at not being able to show up truly as you are. And so one of the things we talked about was like if you have 70% that day and you give 70%, you gave 100% for that day. And working on how to reframe that sometimes you may have to do things differently, but differently doesn't mean wrong. And so I often talk and I referenced Kristen Neff is great, and also Ethan Cross, who are two researchers that really focus on self-talk. And James Clear wrote a book called Atomic Habits that might provide some helpful opportunities in how to implement some strategies so that there are reduced barriers to the recharging activities. So there's some food for thought there. So in order to we hold on. So we wanted to be able to give you a useful resource for where you can sort of go through, given the context we just sort of talked about, a self-assessment, strategize for in the moment coping, identify your maintenance behaviors for resilience, and then write in some personal goals. So we have a great guided worksheet that'll get you through this process because sort of in thinking about behavior change, you want to first, create that awareness, but then also like if you are in a flare or you wake up with, 12% battery, what you don't want to have to make the plan then. You want to have a strategy ahead of time. And so this is a really good opportunity for you to have that plan in place. Alexandra, anything to add?
This will be linked in the description along with other resources for this workshop. So, if for the ones who were able to attend this workshop, if you could please go to the link that will be in the description and fill out the survey just so we can get a better idea of how you felt about the workshop flow, especially with this being our first one. And we really want to get your feedback so we can improve this for the community as a whole. And speaking of the community, if you would like to continue any of the discussions from this workshop or any other topics that you'd like to connect with other patients, please join our Facebook group page. And here we'll also begin to slowly talk about research opportunities that you can join or just learn more about research updates.
So the Metrodora Foundation is a nonprofit organization. We're always looking for support and furthered involvement. So you can donate, you can look up join MetConnect via My Data Helps to see if you can participate in research, and follow us on social media so that you can stay up to date with all the goings on at Metrodora Foundation, as well as hear about workshops and educational webinars coming down the line. We've got a lot planned as part of this community workshop series, including a workshop centered around identity, one aimed at caregivers, and much more. So thanks so much for taking the time to watch this workshop. We hope you learned something, and let us know what you think in the comments.